Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember MEAD magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Fade in. Fade in.
That's right. Fade in. Welcome to the program, everybody. I am Tom Connors. Time for some Midnight's Edge After Dark. We have a couple of Canadians here and a rock dude. That's right. CC Karaoke. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Spent most of the last week or two just working on channel stuff.
Glad to hear it.
The usual.
Also joining us, Mr. Script Doctor. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here today.
Happy to have you as always. And our rock person representation, the Orange Man, Mr. Clobbering Times. How you doing?
I'm clobbering away, man. Thanks for having me. Good to see you. Hope everybody else is doing great. And hello there to our great friends out there in the chat.
Yes, indeed. We're glad to have you here. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Fear does not exist in this dojo, does it?
That's right. I got new toys.
Pain does not exist in this dojo, does it?
Wow.
Defeat
Oh
does
man,
not
well,
exist in this dojo, does it?
I really want this actor strike to resolve so that we can get to shooting Cobra Kai 6.
Yes.
Us enduring traditions of the season are best enjoyed in the warm embrace of kith and kin.
Got that one for my mom for Christmas.
Tree is a symbol of the spirit of the Griswold family Christmas.
She loves that movie.
Wow.
And then, of course, I had to get.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Where'd you find these things?
I'm gonna kick your ass.
I'm surprised that they're still pull strings and not just buttons.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they're just a digital thing in the inside because you just barely pull it and it works. But that's what I love about it. It's that retro kind of deal. Like, yeah, no, they're really kind of neat.
Where'd you find those? Like at a store or something? Or
Amazon had them, and I ordered them a while ago. I pre-ordered them. They also have the dude, which I'm thinking of getting for Culture. I got to get one myself eventually too, but because Culture fancies himself as the dude. So I'll get him one.
Nice.
But indeed. So thank you so much for being here, guys. Yes, I know, Sadie, you think you have to go out now instead of 10 minutes ago before we started the show. But guess what? You're going to have to wait a minute now. But I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Hamdinger here. We got Grand Admiral Adam, your Muslim uncle, FKHC 2005. Adam's here. Chris is here. Alabama Wyatt is here. Doba Fett's here. Welcome, everybody. Mecca J's here. Doc Fortune. Hit that like button. D-Bud Martin and Steven, a.k.a. Deleted Scenes, are in the chat swinging around the wrenches. We also have Picasso here. He's going to make us a painting. Let's see here. We got Lance Corporal Waffles, Duck Nation as well. Hit the like button. Share out the link. Let everybody know we're live. We're going to talk about some Hollywood burning down. Burning down. Well, the two major studios are it's not looking good for them right now, let's say. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We got Last Call with Troy Pacelli here, who's been a member for 14 months. Thank you so much for that. That is excellent. we are happy to have you as a member, and hopefully we'll have a member stream soon. I got to bug Andre about that again. Somebody's got a message.
Sorry, I always forget to turn it off.
Show the puppy, please. Oh, she's right
Actually,
here.
that was telling me
I
your
don't know if you
show
can see her.
was telling me your show's on, dude. So that's a good message.
Yeah. Funny enough, Toxic Man Flu has this thing set through Google. He keeps my schedule quite well. It pops through my phone all the time.
I turned it off, but yeah, it's are down. But I mean, yes, I got your notification only like 5 minutes after you started.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. But if you guys can hold
I
on,
got a notification for the show right now.
say if you can hold the fort for like 2 seconds, I got to let her out.
You got it. Sadie comes first, man. You know, she's a cool dog. What's up, FKH? All these cool people popping in here tonight.
Yeah, we're getting a good turnout. It's great.
Yes, indeed. Hey, D Bud. Yeah, we all love Sadie. We wish we could like see Sadie the whole time, but she probably wouldn't sit still to stay on camera.
Sadie's got attitude.
Yeah.
And she's definitely in control of the situation. Growls, barks.
Yes.
You can't ignore Sadie, or she'll just take over the whole microphone, and there's no getting around.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Eric
if you don't do what she wants, then the husky comes out in her and she likes to talk back. And then I go and let her out here and she acts like I'm going out.
Eric K, I just saw you there, man. You're not chopped liver. I should know. I don't eat liver.
That's right. Oh, Eric K's in the house. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, bud?
Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. Well, now Sadie's outside barking at leaves. Let's get into these topics. We got some topics here tonight. Let's start with the Casey Bloys news. This kind of blew through the industry in the last 24 to 48 hours here.
Almost 12, it seems like. Really, most
well, he can come real fast, but like Casey Bloys apologizes now for using fake Twitter accounts to troll TV critics and calls it a dumb idea. Well, you think? Well, at the end of the day, I'll give Casey credit for admitting that he fucked up, I guess.
That's one step closer than yeah, that puts him one step above every executive in town admitting a mistake.
Yeah.
Getting to that note, I was just going to say,
he has no future then.
The bigger point here, and I think this is kind of the whole point of this story we're going to get to, is this just shines a light on what I think Script is kind of alluding to, and that is that this is not an isolated incident. This is not a one-time thing. We have been dealing with this for years, and what I love about this actually finally gives us confirmation on what we've been reporting on and talking about for years, and everybody else has, and that is that they have all these controlled agencies and trolls of their own that they get out there to try and hype things up and or attack, naysayers on anything out there. So yeah, Script Doctor, you had an interesting take before the show. I'd love to kind of have you kind of re-give us that take here before we give our feelings on this.
Sure. I mean, well, there's always been in some capacity a not official department of counter critic culture. Like this is like certain journalists in the trades way back when, like in the dawn of the trade newspapers and critic reviews and stuff, you'd always have at least one or two kind of in the pocket of the studios in order to promote a successful film or television show. When social media kind of exploded, yeah, it kind of migrated a little bit over there. Now, I think there's a little hyperbole with some of the reporting on this, like an army of trolls or an army of these bot accounts operating for the studios. I don't know what constitutes an army, but based on the deposition, the court filings for the lawsuit that HBO is currently in from an ex-employee, it seems like it's still very small. Like it's a handful of people operating maybe another handful of sock accounts to operate at behest of, at least in this case, Casey Bloys, who was upset that certain critics were not liking the shows he greenlit. But instead of doing what a normal producer should do, which is take the criticism, cross-reference that with audience reception, and figure out if there's a way to solve the problem to make the show more of a hit, he instead said, let's just deface the or humiliate the critics that are against the show instead of doing his job. He essentially used social media as the pander stone. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, like basically what I was saying, kind of what we've been dealing with for the last few years with everything when you go all the way back to like Fantastic Four and Ghostbusters and Star Wars and all these other things where
that's where it really exploded. Yeah. Around
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about this. Klobby, let's start with you. I mean, are you surprised by this? And what do you think about what script said there and the whole shebang here?
I've never even heard of this guy. Heard you guys this guy's talking about him tonight. I assume you know who you're familiar with him.
He's the head of
But I'm not.
HBO. Yeah.
Okay.
He's
I
the
never heard
new
his
head
name.
of HBO,
The
who
new
has
head.
not been doing the best job over the last few years.
Yes, from what little I know, I'm a little surprised that anybody it's what Script said, that anybody at that level actually admits to doing anything wrong or dumb, as he calls it. That's the only thing that surprised me because I don't know anything else about the guy. So yeah, I've never even heard of him. And
Well, do
it
you
is
see
pretty
this as
stupid.
now, like, since there's a lawsuit involved, script, not to interrupt quick, but I got to ask, because just for some background of this whole thing, because there's a lawsuit involved in this with an ex-employee, and he's admitting to it, but his admission, as you were kind of saying, was, well, yeah, during the pandemic, I got bored.
Yeah.
Like, is he trying to downplay it, like when you're busted for murder, but you're like, I didn't murder nobody because I was over here robbing this place, at that time.
Well, I think he's trying to downplay it to the fact that he knows probably the frequency of how often he's doing it, and I suspect the frequency is nowhere near as huge as some of the ones that you get from the trolls the in-house trolls that work for like a Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, and so forth. There's a lot of them. Like, here's the one thing you have to kind of remember is that a lot of the stuff we hear from celebrities and directors that make accusations towards fan or any types of groups that don't like the work as racist are basically being strung along specifically by the trades to get that answer out of them. Whether or not they believe that, it's inconsequential. They say they should admit that they're wrong and whatnot, but that's where the manipulation is kind of coming from. And the studios have their own form of doing it as part of marketing in order to try and cajole people into thinking that the shows that they're making are good and don't compromise their job. In the case of Casey Bloys here, he greenlit a couple of shows that were produced by J.J. Abrams that didn't go anywhere, and one by Joss Whedon that wasn't really well received. He picked names of people that the industry would assume are reliable, and there's no fault for him there. But when the truth kind of hit him, instead of trying to do his job, he went after the people that were compromising his job, and not the right ones, the people that would be the audience and the critics and the voices that people listen to but not necessarily trust. And apparently he'd been doing this between 2020 and 2021. So yeah, he stopped supposedly stopped in 2022, or at least there's no other reports coming out that he continued into 2022. But he's I think he's trying to downplay it because it was probably not near the frequency some people would like to expect. And I suspect that's the case because, again, when you're asking interns to have stock accounts and say things for you, unless you're obsessive like Casey was, it's really such a low priority. It's literally like said to the intern as they're walking to their car to pick up laundry or something. It's like, yeah, on their way, just tweet something. Like, that's how it would usually be. It's not sort of orchestrated like some of those videos you see on Twitter of all these phones or people at computers just constantly, typing up repeated responses from a number of accounts. That's way too complicated and way too supposedly expensive for a studio to even do or care about or invest in. And I'm not trying to dampen the fact that he did this because it's incredibly stupid and a waste of time. But I think it's fair to keep the eye on context. Like, we should actually figure out how many of these accounts he had at his disposal by way of interns and how frequently they were doing it, and see if we can come up with a good aggregate to see, is it really something influential or is it really as petty as we see displayed here in these reports? And I think it's probably going to be the latter.
Yeah, and thank you for kind of going over that, because that was my kind of question, is like E-Clay brought up here. Why would he admit this? What's the advantage for him? And that's where I think he's downplaying it more so for the reason of the lawsuit. At least that's my thoughts on it. But CC, what's your thoughts on all this, since you haven't had a chance to chime in at all yet?
Well, my takeaway, especially from a couple of years of film school, but also just in life in general, and I think everybody's probably had this experience, because I don't think it's specific to Hollywood, but I definitely personally experienced it when I dabbled in that career trajectory, is that you don't make it to any kind of position of power. You don't get to be the director or the cinematographer, and certainly you don't make it to HBO boss by telling people what you actually think, right? You have to literally make a career out of telling people what they want to hear, and doing it convincingly. Being as
Right.
fake as humanly possible, and smiling and making everyone think that you like them and that you get along and you agree with all their points of view. But it's human, right? It like, who are you really? What do you really think? You're going to find a way to communicate that somehow, and that's why I'm going back to your point, Tom, and also to your point, Script. I think yes, it's probably a petty thing, but it's probably also something that everybody's doing. And maybe in this case, guy made a few fake Twitter accounts so that he could get what he really thinks off his chest in a way that he thought nobody would actually know, and it wouldn't, impact his position. But it's also going to happen behind closed doors whenever he doesn't think he's being recorded or photographed or anything like that. And if he's with somebody you can trust, you could be the fly on the wall and hear what he actually has to say about everything and anything. And it's going to have no similarity to what we actually see in public. Because if it did, he wouldn't be a boss, right?
Now, do we think he's going to get... is there going to be any repercussions for this admission, do you guys think? Do you think he's going to be ousted as HBO head? Do you think nothing's going to happen at all? I'm curious what you guys in the audience think. Yeah, go ahead, Script.
It's kind of a weak reason to fire him. I mean, take a look at his show record history. That's more of a reason to fire him than this.
Right.
Again, he does not have a taste that's in line with audiences. I know there's the argument out there that studios have to stop making stuff for themselves and make stuff for the audience. But the biggest problem is that the audience is so broad and has so many different opinions, it's impossible to please them all. So you should make something for yourself and hope that you're in the same mind frame as the general audience. And if it works, great, success. And if it doesn't work, don't try and cling to it, as Casey Bloys did here. Scrap it and do something else, because that's the best way you're actually going to win. You take a survey of 10 million people, you're never going to get a consistent answer across all of them when it comes to what they want in their film and television. It's not possible.
No, that's fair. You're better off that or making stuff that's for a specific demographic and then just hope it...
Or niche target and budget it appropriately so that you have a chance of making a successful product. Like you don't want to do, as we've learned recently with regards to the Variety article on Marvel, you don't want to spend $25 million an episode on a She-Hulk or $10 million for an episode on Star Trek Discovery when it's not appealing to the core fan base you're marketing to.
Funny you mentioned that, Script, because that is our next story. But Ben Dowdy sent in a member chat and said, "Hi, folks." So hello, Ben. Hopefully you're doing well.
I didn't want to jump to that topic too much without getting more info from CC and Klobby.
Yeah, but go ahead and give your final thoughts on that, CC, because this is our next topic, actually. It's kind of funny we segued right into it that way. Unless you had anything more to say, I mean.
I think whether and what happens to him is probably going to be related to how much public attention is given to the story. If it's already flowing under the radar, then it's pretty easy for anyone else who would have the power to fire him to forget about it, unless they were already thinking about it.
Yeah. Klobby?
I'm good. You guys said it all.
Do you think they're going to fire him now?
Nope.
Yeah. No, I think you guys are right. Unless something goes awry in the court case that he's attached to it somehow, then I don't see it.
No way.
The way that it looks like now, it seems that whatever infrastructure was there to do this Twitter trolling against critics, it hasn't been there for almost a year now. That's the other part too. There's no other... Rolling Stone hasn't looked into it any deeper. Other people have been trying to look into it, and nothing has turned up yet. I could later on, but for now, it seems like once the pandemic kind of dampened in early 2022, such responses vanished as well.
At this point, yeah, I'd chalk it up to just basically another case of...
I fucking knew it! Oh!
basically. Another day that ends in Y.
Yes, sir.
And here again, speaking of another day that ends in Y, other shit we've all said before. But here it's coming out now. A She-Hulk insider blames series half-baked scripts and visual effects issues on Kevin Feige's lack of pre-production oversight. What have we heard time and time again, especially from the special effects side of things? They don't previs this shit. They don't plan it. It's like they don't even understand what pre-production and writing is about because they change stuff so much that it's insane. So let's get into this real quick here. I want this individual claims. This alleged insight into She-Hulk behind-the-scenes failings was first brought to light by Variety's Tatiana Siegel, who herself had spoken to a number of company insiders as a part of a November 1st deep dive into the Marvel Cinematic Universe ongoing financial downfall. Amidst the discussion of numerous issues currently facing the franchise, which include a lack of interest in the Marvels, to a general uncertainty regarding Jonathan Majors' future as Kang the Conqueror, and thus entirety of their plans for the currently in progress multiverse saga. Siegel eventually turned to highlight Marvel's very, very apparent VFX woes. To this end, Siegel then revealed that after seeing the reception to the slapdash state in which Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium hit theaters, all blame for the franchise's decaying visual quality eventually came to rest on studio's former president of physical post-production VFX animation, Victoria Alonso, which in turn led to her April 2023 firing. That's at least what they reported. But we know that's true. And also, I think Script and I have also alluded to, there's a bevy of other reasons why she got killed.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, while the reason cited for her abrupt firing was her unauthorized role as an executive producer on the Oscar-nominated film Argentina, 1985, and they go into that right here, insiders say Disney was incensed that the quality control on its Marvel productions was plummeting, particularly on the ever-expanding TV front, wrote Siegel. The VFX logjam had been evident for some time, with some final effects for such Disney Plus series as WandaVision and She-Hulk Attorney at Law inserted after their streaming debuts. Also, that Alonso also... So basically, are they admitting that they had shows up before they were finished and then they put them in later when they were finished? So if you saw them early...
Yes, they're not the only ones to do that. The CW did that with Superman and Lois a couple of times. They actually aired episodes where you could see the time code of the previs special effects inserted in the shot that went to air, and then when they released it later for streaming, they corrected it. But yeah, they weren't the only ones. But it's been known to happen recently, which is crazy because it's
like getting updates like a game.
Like a patch note to your television show while you're watching it.
For fuck's sake. I mean, I can understand like when Game of Thrones, then they accidentally had the whatever it was, the Starbucks cup
yeah,
or whatever. Like, I can understand going back and taking that out. Nobody's going to care later on down the road. This is almost as bad or worse than that whole idea of having to get a patch later on to fix your game or app. Yeah.
Well, they had to do the same thing with Picard season 3 when they aired it. Some of the lighting effects were off. It was too dark when it wasn't properly time coded or color coded or color time. Sorry. And then later on the DVD or the Blu-ray stuff, they screwed it up as well.
Yeah, I was going to say they screwed up a shot on the Blu-ray they had to fix. So they at least fixed that. They still haven't fixed some other things over at Paramount, but that's neither here nor there. And that's another
it just
issue
seems like
altogether.
Really,
but yeah,
it's really weird how, I mean, it's definitely more localized at Disney and it's definitely more egregious at Disney. But the fact that it's popping up at other studios where it really shouldn't is peculiar because I'm wondering, okay, are some of these effects houses that are working for those other studios also being contracted out to Disney Marvel? And is that why they're so overburdened to the point where they're pushing some stuff aside to fulfill the Disney contract and it's causing issues with their main contract? Because this was a point of contention that was brought up during the Rise of Skywalker when basically for the last 4 weeks of the year leading up to its release, almost every VFX studio had to push aside what they're working on and took a premium so that they could complete the Rise of Skywalker in time for its release.
Yeah. And then it goes on here to say, however, it seems some Marvel employees believe that Alonso was merely being accused You being used as a scapegoat. I love this, John. What the fuck?
Dude, maybe he wrote this on his phone.
A zero? Were you using a walkie-talkie?
Oops.
He'll fix it. It's okay.
Sorry, I had to cough there. We have another guest not guest, another panelist joining us. The one, the only.
Mikey.
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 Man.
What up, dude?
Ole! All right, damn it. Anyway, you caught us right in the middle of talking about this She-Hulk business. Anyway, Alonzo is merely being used as a scapegoat for the studio's own incompetence, specifically citing She-Hulk's lack of visual polish. A number of Seagulls that doesn't make sense. There's multiple seagulls, evidently.
A flock of seagulls argued that.
Flock of seagulls argued that the series effects were symptoms of deeper rot, namely a lack of oversight on script development. In backing up their claim, said sources recalled how in She-Hulk's original outline, Jennifer's origin was not shown on screen until the series' second to last episode. I remember that being reported early on. Yep. However, after watching this initial cut, Marvel higher-ups, Feige included, realized that this delayed explanation as to how the series protagonist got her powers and would confuse rather than excite its viewers. As such, the series went back to its VFX team, who were instructed to do what they could to salvage She-Hulk's narrative in post-production.
Which is crazy. You're asking the visual effects artists to essentially rewrite and re-edit a television show.
This is insane. I mean, you'd think you'd have this shit planned
What
out.
could go wrong?
It'll be fine.
Well, for starters, as creative as they are, they're not writers or editors. You're asking them to do something that is a little bit outside of their specified field.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky if they can act through those fucking puppets, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the CGI puppets, but yeah. Per one specific source who is involved in She-Hulk, the so-called bad VFX we see was because of half-baked scripts. That is not Victoria, that is Kevin. So now some shades being thrown over to Kevin.
That's fair because Kevin is to oversee that type of stuff. Here's the other conflict. When you give Victoria post-production powers, she can rewrite anything she wants too, because that's part of her mandate.
I think that's where they butt heads, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the GM, he's the head coach.
Yeah, because if Kevin says has half-baked scripts, then it's up to Victoria Alonso to try and fix that as part of her producer of post-production. So it dovetails nicely into what's being claimed here, that the VFX team was essentially hired to rework, recut, and rewrite the episodes to make them work.
And they even go higher than that. And even above Kevin, they added, those issues should have been addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing the Marvel executives to sit with the material. And the only person above Kevin is Bob Iger. So,
Yeah. It's all Feige.
I mean, it just goes on.
It's all Feige. I mean, he's the boss. It's all on him. He's the GM. Does all the hiring.
We're learning that he never had a plan, right? And he, if it wasn't for James Gunn coming in and saving his ass between basically Guardians of the Galaxy and Infinity War, I'm not so sure we would have seen that much of a success after they ousted Perlmutter, because they had nobody there at all, if you think about it.
And that's a really good point, because James Gunn was the only director that was allowed to storyboard and previs his film before he went to production. If you take a look at his Twitter timeline, he's got stacks of the storyboards that he was putting together himself before he began shooting, to make sure that this film the production would be as smooth as possible.
Not just that. In an interview. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Cece.
No, I was just going to add, you need a visionary, and you need people around the visionary. And Feige has neither of those two things. He's not John Lasseter. He doesn't have the people who were working with Lasseter at the time at Pixar. I'll make a music reference on this one. David Bowie. He was a visionary artist, right? and he had a rotating cast of people around him. And when he was at his best, the things you remember the most, he had the best talent to go with him, like Reeves Gabrels on guitar. So at this point, Feige has neither the vision himself or the talent around him to execute that vision. And so
But he still got lucky because even the talent he had around him at that point, not the film talent, mind you, he had like Joe Quesada and some of the writers of his ilk going over scripts during the heyday of Marvel as well. And I'm not a fan of Joe Quesada. And
yeah, neither.
But again, even having him there, they still managed to provide some hits, but they're not there anymore, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, none of them are. You're right.
Generations gone, at least.
Oh yeah, they're all gone. There's nobody with talent at Marvel Comics itself or working for him. And all of the people that had talent working for Feige before, whether it was Favreau or Whedon or the Russo brothers or Gunn, they're all gone. It's like he's the GM that cut all the best players, and there's got a bunch of third stringers, people with no talent and no experience.
It takes decades to rebuild a talent pool. It doesn't matter if it's like a sports or video games or the movie industry. You can't fix that in a year or two. You have to
No, he didn't find successors because, again, aside from James Gunn, you have Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, which essentially carried the MCU. They did the Captain America films. They did the more profitable Avengers films, and a lot of the stuff that they did was credited to the Russo brothers, which is unfortunate because the Russo brothers were TV directors. They shot to script, and I think a lot of the stuff they did was great. Their fight scenes were absolutely terrible, though. Too many quick cuts, too many short takes, short close-ups and stuff, things of that nature. But regardless of the fact, the writing talent that they had, they brought in other people. They brought in fresh, hungry, young, easily manipulative writers to do the job the way a TV director would direct a television show, which is just come in there, do your action, do your cut, organize your shots with your DOP, and get it done. They tried to do that assembly line approach on the writing part, and Marvel has suffered ever since.
This comment about lack of pre-production oversight. If you remember one of the episodes, maybe it was two of the episodes, but they're where they make fun of that interaction with Kevin.
Yep.
That tells me right there that it was a bunch of kids running around in the sandbox without any oversight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but that's just crazy. Who allows this to happen? I mean, that's how much money these guys have floating around that they just don't care.
Well, Disney does. I mean, even in season 2 of The Mandalorian, there are a number of fight scenes where you could see the crash mats and just regular gym mats on the ground for the stunt performers to land onto that were in shot, and they weren't digitally removed at the time. So this is primarily a Disney problem. The fact that it's bigger on the Marvel side of things right now, well, it just goes to show that they invented a position for Victoria Alonso. It was way above her skill set. She failed at it dramatically. And then on the writing side of things, Kevin Feige just brought in people that he liked who happened to work for Dan Harmon. And that's not the talent pool you should be looking at, because Dan Harmon, it's mostly comedy writers who dabble a little bit in science fiction, where when you're dealing with a property like Marvel, you kind of want more science fiction oriented writers, or at least people in, if not science fiction, but political science and sociological education or background stories, to weave those types of genres and subgenres into what stands for the Marvel universe. And they went the opposite approach, and that's why we got a Shang-Chi, which should have been a heartwarming story about a broken-hearted father trying to save his wife, and his son trying to deal with the grieving parent, his parents' grief and his loss of a parent. And it wasn't any of that. You got Black Widow, which on its surface level of premise is very anti-communistic, but it's also by way of girl boss. So you actually deflate the heart of that thing, which would be femininity, reclaiming what it is to be feminine and be a person, to fight against someone that's like an abusive parent type of thing. They failed in that part. The Eternals, I can't remember anything other than the fact that Eternals was boring. And personally, when I read some of the Eternal issues, I was never really hooked onto them. I thought they were weird and not in the fun way. And then, of course, you've got all the threading of the movies after Eternals that were trying to incorporate some of the Disney Plus series. And so now you ended up having, instead of stuff that was like must-see TV or things that built on the lore, you had things that became dependent on these other film projects. And so you're losing the narrative focus. What is it? It was like, what, 7 years between Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness? And the Multiverse of Madness, Tom, you were very right. It's more of a sequel to Wanda's story than it is to Doctor Strange's stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just a disorganized mess.
I mean, I just also say before Disney went on this buying spree of other properties, Star Wars, Marvel, and all that. I mean, at least my impression is the most of their talent pool was in animation, which they now don't have anymore. And they never really had an infrastructure for high-level live action. I mean, a lot of their live action stuff was Disney on television, A Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Hannah Montana. It's not to say they never made a good live action flick, but that wasn't really their bread and butter to begin with. And they bought these properties and lost the talent that those properties had. Lucasfilm no longer has the talent that it had, and neither does Pixar. And they've lost their own talent in animation. Like I said, I'm not confident that they ever had a huge talent pool of their own on live action. So what talent is even left at this company?
Well, the hits keep coming for Marvel because we've got 2 more stories that are Marvel related. And we've got a lot of people trying to come out and save face for Marvel at the same time. So here we go, kids. Marvel director Nia DaCosta reportedly left the film's production during post-production.
Yeah.
Not surprised, because she probably from day one, it sounds like hardly any of these directors get a final say or any kind of input on the final product. And we definitely learned that from, what's his face, the Ant-Man director,
Peyton Reed.
His name. Peyton Reed, and how his vision was kind of reworked for the final product that we got. And we even heard rumors that he may not even had anything to do with the reshoots.
I've heard the rumors, but I haven't read.
Yeah, you were one of the people that said that.
Publicly,
yeah.
Though, has he made statements publicly since it came out? Because
really,
I haven't read anything.
He's alluded that he had a different vision, so that
I know
supports it. I mean, there's things like that, but like all the other stuff comes from leaks or rumors that we've heard, or you've either supported or said yourself to script.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that note, like, again, I'm not surprised she did. So the basics of this story is just as they were finishing up the Marvels, Nia DaCosta, the director, left the film in the middle of post-production to go work on Tessa Thompson vehicle Hedda. And I guess this ruffled some feathers for some reason. Eyebrows were raised again when DaCosta began working on another film, and this was after what was it?
Not at Marvel though. I think it was
John. What do you mean here? Who wrote this? Yeah, John, because you don't have the beginning of this article here.
I'll say this: the people that thought this was weird were the people that know of Nia DaCosta that don't work for Disney.
Yeah.
That when they were saying, "Oh, hey, how's the Marvels going?" It's like, "Well, we finished production, and I'm now working on this thing." It's like, "Well, what about how's post going?" "Oh, I'm not there." That's where you get the concept.
Okay, a source informed. Okay, this comes from Siegel. This is the same person as the last article.
Yeah.
There we go. Now I got some reference here. So, and Siegel said, if you're directing a $250 million movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave with a few months to go.
Yes, it is.
DaCosta previously informed Vanity Fair she moved from Marvel Studios back in September. It was really great to play in this world and be a part of building this big world, but it just made me just want to build my own world more. So that's her way of saying I wanted to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, that's not sounding good. So yeah,
and
it
the
goes
other
on
part
a
too
little bit more.
they weren't going to give her final cut or control in post-production office, so why was she going to be there? Like, that's the other part, right? Like, she's a very fresh director on the scene to the public.
Not only did she reveal she had moved on, but she detailed how stressed out the production made her. That's where most of the real pure stress as an artist come from. She explained, people are like, oh, it's a Marvel film. Cool, cool, cool. But I also have my name on it, so I want to be able to be proud of it too. I'm sorry, Nia.
Ouch.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry.
A little much for that.
Oh. Yeah.
Alan Smithy.
Not at this point.
Too late.
Yeah.
And that never stays buried. We always find out who it is. And that's the problem in a world where we live in the internet now. It's almost impossible to Alan Smithy a movie anymore. But anyway, this just look. I just bring this up because this is just continual problems for Marvel. And then there was more. It goes on. Okay, now this is one that's got a lot of debate going on. And I'm curious what you know about this script, if anything, because
Sure.
I had a source. I don't even know if you were hanging out by then at that point yet, script or not, but I know we were doing the morning show, so I think you were. Because on that show, 2 or so days before Marasha Ali was announced to be Blade, they were still in talks with Wesley Snipes.
Yes.
So I had a little bit of insight on what was going on behind the scenes, and this was the kind of thing I was getting, is that it sounded like they were kind of pushing Blade to the side, and they wanted Wesley for the Whistler role, which made no sense to nobody.
Mentor role, yeah.
So I wonder if I misinterpreted that at that time, meaning that they were never going to have a Whistler as a character, but they were pushing Blade into a Whistler role, is what my source meant, more so perhaps. Because
I remember you bringing that. I remember you bringing that up on the morning show, and I think I suggested it would make more sense if Blade was the mentor, which is like what Whistler was. He was Blade's mentor. Than it would be for him to be Wesley Snipes as Whistler, because that doesn't make sense. He's Wesley Snipes. Whistler's a white guy.
Well, that's why I wouldn't put it past him in this day and age to recast him as a black dude.
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Wesley Snipes, like, why would you not want to make him, if he's agreed to the project, or at least is pending the agreement terms to the project? Why wouldn't you want to use him as Blade? And if you wanted to, say, do a soft kind of sequel to the original trilogy of the Blade films, he is appropriate age to be the mentor, the Obi-Wan Kenobi character.
Either way, things broke down, and since then, we have had, I don't know how many different revisions in the script. But we learn now that one of these revisions morphed into a narrative that was led by women and filled with life lessons. And not only did that script turn into this, but Marasha Ali reportedly was ready to leave the project entirely due to the script issues. Now, we know this movie has been mired in script rewrites. And this is also coming from Tatiana Siegel. So this is all coming from the same source, the same Variety article or whatever it is. And she added that Blade was relegated to fourth lead, a bizarre idea considering the studio had 2-time Oscar winner Ali aboard. And also it's even more bizarre had they had a chance to work with Snipes to begin with. And to me, the way they announced Marasha was like a swipe at Snipes anyway. Because it happened in so quick of kind of a thing. And so that's where I'm not so sure they didn't already have Marasha Ali in mind or on board before that. But as we know, they've been working on this now for, I think, close to 4 years since they've announced it.
If Blade was going to be in the mentorship role, Marasha Ali, I think, is older than Snipes. So that would lead.
I think he's just slightly younger or something like that, but yeah.
Slightly young. Oh, are the contemporaries? Okay.
I know they're pretty close in age.
Okay, cool.
And that's what made everybody kind of go, why didn't you just get Wesley Snipes?
Weird. That's just weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes is cheap still because of all the tax issues he had to go through.
Weird.
So
Yeah.
his quote's still pretty low.
It's weird. Yeah. Anyway. Do you guys even think this movie's going to see the light of day?
Nope.
No.
No. I don't think it's going to see the light of day. I think
I'll see Star Trek 4 before I see this.
I think we'll get a Blade, but I don't think we'll get this Blade.
No.
I don't know. I mean, you're looking at 4 years of development, 4 years of script rewrites, probably. If they're solid rewrites, you're looking at least 8 variations of that script. So 8 drafts.
Blade, here's your new script. Blade will go on a journey of self-discovery. Blade will begin to question Blade's own identity. Blade will then go on a lack of a hero's journey, only to emerge from that lack of a hero's journey, and will be recast non-binary with a new name called Butterknife.
Well, here's the thing. They've been in development hell, so whatever budget they have spent onto this now will definitely negatively impact any future Blade project that comes in the next decade or so, because they're going to roll over that expenses into that new project, especially if they register as a new LLC. They'll have that LLC buy the old LLC so that they can say, at least we didn't lose this money. Like, that's what they could say. That's how they'll justify it. They'll do the Superman Returns thing, and then the same thing that the Flash did.
My point is, we'll get one eventually. It may even have Marasha Ali in it, but like you just said, script, it'll be almost a completely new production, but with everything else wrapped into it.
Oh yeah, we'll probably see 6 names on the screenplay by credit.
Exactly. And speaking of that, there's somebody pushing back on this, including the Toast dude in My Time to Shine. They're claiming all this is bullshit.
Oh,
okay.
Which I don't know if they can, because the one of the parts is actually confirmed pretty much, and that is the one we just reported on, and that's the Nia DaCosta story. And the She-Hulk story we've known a lot about, and a lot of that seems very much in line with what we've heard. Now this one, that's the problem with this one, is it sounds so fucking believable. Like, well, I mean, because that's fucking Disney's MO.
Put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more fucking lame.
Yeah, well, except for the lame part. Disney doesn't think what they're doing is lame. That's the joke. But the thing is, with My Time to Shine, whatever. I've reviewed a lot of his tweet posts. He's like Mike Zero. I think he's got an okay track record, but he's hitting a lot of stuff that is very, very obvious if you just read the trades.
Yeah, and if not, I've also alluded to, or at least not alluded, that's not the right word. I think
to say this is in the end of the movie. It's like, dude, everybody who's seen a trailer knows that that's going to be in the ending of
or
the movie.
Reddit or whatever's out there.
Yeah.
But also, like, and sometimes he says and hears a lot of things around the same time I do, like that other time, but it's the exact opposite. Right? Like, it's like, I don't know about that. But okay. So, and I think you might be right, Script. My other theory is that he and the Toast dude probably work in the industry or are close to the industry, work inside of it, because the My Time to Shine has both DC and Marvel leaks usually, but I don't know much about the Toast dude. He's only kind of been, he seems a bit more, he's the one who come out and attacked this right away, and then the other guy backed him up.
The way I see it, the way that they word their stuff, they sound like people that make a living as test audiences.
I'm wondering if it's something to that effect, if there's somebody nearby, or they just almost feel a little shilly. I'm not going to flat out say they're shills. I mean, I honestly, they could believe what they're reporting. Yeah. But I don't believe half the shit they're saying anymore, because after today's tweets, I'm just like, dude, how can you say most of this is bullshit? Because most of it's verifiable. The only one I could say that you might be right about is maybe this Blade strip. And that's because this was their evidence, is they used a writer who claims that they worked on a draft and never seen anything like this. It's like, well, one draft isn't all the drafts.
Well, if the writer was brought in to do a rewrite, they would see all the previous drafts. That's SOP. That's standard operating procedure on a rewrite job. You see where the story started. You see the notes of what the studio wants as to the end goal, and you see the progression in there. And the reason you see those drafts is so you don't repeat those mistakes, because something that might have been excised of a previous draft might be an idea you want to incorporate in your draft that's already been rejected, so you don't want to cover that idea again. So if a screenwriter is saying that they worked on a draft, they have to have, depending on what order of drafts that was, they had to have seen every previous draft to that. So there's a possibility this way, very early into the development process, and then many drafts came after him.
Well, we know when. It's Michael Starbury.
Okay.
And they hedge this almost like a fucking gardener. But here, I worked on a draft of this before the strike. Never saw a version where Blade was the fourth lead, or it was a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. I suppose a lot could have happened since I had nothing to do with it. He was in 99% of the scripts I was a part of. But he only worked on one draft. He says scripts multiple. So it's like already kind of.
Well, no, the scripts would be referring to what he read.
I guess.
No, like that's the terminology. Like if you're hired to do a rewrite, you read all the scripts beforehand. The question I have is, what does he mean by before the strike? Because is it like right up to before the strike, or we're talking like a couple of years before the strike?
Right. And he said, I suppose it could have happened since. And that's what I mean by the hedging, like of Gardner.
Well, like if he said it could have happened since, it would have to have been significant time before the strike, because you can't there hasn't been any writing going on for 148 days, you know,
Well,
over the
I
entire summer and
mean,
into the fall. Like,
I don't know how well you know this individual. We can look at his
I'm a little familiar with him. I think he
work and
did.
see where he would have been possibly working on it if he meant like right up to the strike, like you said, or maybe a year before.
I would
Fucking
say
knows.
probably more like a year before, because if he himself said they could have changed that since, well, the time, if it was right up to to the start of the strike, there was no time for it to have changed this dramatically between for the entire month of October now, like, because that's when the strike ended, essentially in October. So I don't know. That's a big 180-degree turn from the stuff that he's claiming to now. I would suspect that maybe he got hired to do a rewrite in early 2022, and he did his one draft and that was it. And then post 2022 all the way up until the strike of 2023 is where you have all those revisions, which I think are very plausible. That, yeah, it was probably female led or something of that nature. The other option being is, and this is also a possibility, which is if there was previous drafts that did have a female centric Blade, and the studio, in say before they hired him, already scrapped that completely and basically burned that stuff down and said, no, we're starting from a page one rewrite here, and whatever drafts happened up as a result of that, that's what ended up getting Michael Strawberry ended up getting part, which means a completely different direction. That would be interesting, but that's not Disney's MO, because Disney's MO has always been to push a little bit of those identity politics, and they haven't been wavering from that anytime since. And the first type of wavering we got was with Daredevil Born Again, and that only happened a few weeks ago. So I'm a little lost in regards to, I think we need another screenwriter who's able to be worked on this on this script to come forward and say this is what they saw in order to better clarify some times here, because I'm not
Yeah,
what you said
because
does not make a whole lot of sense, because it's implying that he was working to it up until the strike. But if you added that caveat of, oh, but it could have changed since, it's like, well, then you weren't really working up to the strike. That your before strike time frame is
yeah,
very broad. I need to know details in order to reconcile
that's what
these
didn't sit
conflicting
right with
arguments.
me because I'm looking at his filmography right now, and so here's what he has done. In
Mhm.
2021 is his last finished project. That was Colin in black and white. And then he has 3 upcoming projects. One is in development, one is in pre-production, and the other one's in production, and that's Blade. So if you take Blade off the thing there,
Mhm.
so he's got one that's already in pre-production and one in development. So he's working on 2 other things already, basically. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Script. And they've only had time to have one other maybe possible writer come on since the strike, and they're in the process of working on that right now.
Yeah, I
So
mean, they would be delivering it if they got, like, day 1 of the strike ended and and a new
yeah,
writer got hired, they'd be turning in a draft this week, because you're
right.
looking at around 6 weeks for a turnaround, which is kind of standard. Disney could say, Do it in 3." You can do it, but it's gonna be crap, and I don't think they're looking for that. I think they're looking for proper due diligence and execution.
So, and what I see here is I see a lot, and this is ever since the whole South Park episode, a lot of the minions or the flying monkeys or whatever you want to call it coming out of the woodwork trying to defend Disney on all fronts here, it seems like. Uh, I'll be honest with you. And especially if you're in the process of working with them or have worked with them and want to work with them again, and no offense, and this, if like I knew, look, and this is the honest to God truth. If Script happened to tell me something in the background, like, oh, I'm got a project coming up I'm working with Disney on for the next fucking few months or years until he's done working on that project, I'm really going to question some of his opinions unless, I really know him well enough to go, oh, no, I trust him. Right. I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
I trust you. And I'm just saying this is as an example. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because you're clearly going to adhere to whatever your boss wants you to, or you're going to want to look good in your boss's eyes. So the last thing you're going to want to do is go out there and make the company look bad and go, oh, yeah, this was definitely something I saw, or definitely was something they were pushing for. And
I
I'm
don't
not
know,
saying
like,
he
my
saw
my
that,
dip
but yeah.
my des my dip my personal, disposition doesn't usually afford me to
No,
maintain
I'm just
like
using you
that
as a
sort of thing.
bad
If a
example, let's say.
producer, well, I'll give you this example. If a producer gives me a bad idea, I don't tell him it's bad right away. I just ask them to elaborate as much on it as possible so I can see if I can find an opening to make it work. And if I can't make it work, I'll usually try and find some excuse, usually with either budget or find something in the trades that it seems like it's derivative and it's not going to pop the way that he wants, and that we should probably work together to come up with something that pops so that he can really impress the people. Like, I'll try and reconcile it so I don't burn his ego, but at the same time, it's like the reason I was getting jobs and coming in to fix and rewrite stuff is because I didn't provide affirmation to the people that were in charge, but I wouldn't be mean about it. I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I see why this isn't working. So let's try and sit down and fix it," as opposed to doing like what a Norm Macdonald would do, is like, "Oh yeah, this sucks. You know, you're terrible. You're not a genius. What are you, good at taxes? No, no." Like that's
Well,
what.
I should have just made somebody up, but yeah.
No, but I mean, it's perfectly fair. I mean, listen, I'm most likely never going to work for Disney. I've done
No,
the
but I
tour.
mean,
I've
I'm
had the
just
job
saying.
interviews there. They did not hire me prior to Trump becoming president. I don't think they're gonna hire me during or post.
But let's see what the audience is saying. Or actually, I didn't even get a chance to ask you guys what you thought about it. Let's start with Klobby. Anything
Yeah.
about the Marvels or Blade business that surprises you, or anything that sticks out to you as interesting?
No, I heard what you said on.
And Klobby's just totally fucking done with this shit.
Yeah,
Or
well,
lost
so
internet.
am I. I mean, look, I was never a Marvel guy, despite being Mexican Iron Man. That came my online name came with my excitement to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I didn't grow up a Marvel guy, and I don't care anymore. I just don't give a shit. I'm not gonna watch any of this crap. None of it. None of it. I don't care what they do, who they pull out. There's no way I'm going to go to the theater and watch anything Marvel. Not after the last 2 or 3 rounds. I did my Wakanda Forever. I did my Doctor Strange piece of crap, and now I'm out. And I'm not watching shit on TV Marvel related.
Yeah, which is sad because I mean, yes, they'll never hire me, but I did send they've heard the fix. They've heard my fix that I have on my Patreon. I know that. They're not going to do it. Because I haven't heard anything back. So.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right, Klobby. Welcome back. We're just curious what your thoughts were on all this Marvel business.
Well, do I have to go watch the Marvels? Oh, I thought you told me I have to go watch the Marvels.
No, just the whole thing,
No,
the Blade, the Marvels, the whole Marvel in general, just state of affairs kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's we'll never see a Blade movie. I'm pretty sure about that. I mean, I was not able to hear half what you guys were talking about because about my
Oh, that sucks.
But
hey, that was one of the questions, actually, Klobby. So you're in the right direction.
Which one?
Whether or not you think you'll ever see a Blade movie. That was one of the questions I asked. Yeah.
No, what's up? But I didn't catch everything that was being said because we had no sound. Because it was
that sucks.
Something wrong with no, it was the computer. I rebooted it, I think. So
hopefully you're back and you're good. No, that's fine. CC, anything you got to add to it?
Well, I saw the chat mentioning this, and I fully agree. There's no way that Disney's going to do an R-rated Blade movie. Never mind an R-rated anything. No. The only way they could ever maybe do that is under a completely different branding that happens to be Disney, but it's not seen as Disney. So the idea of Blade, never, or any other franchise that would require a bit more grit, like the Marvel series on Netflix in general, some more than others, but in general, like I can't see Disney doing that because it's not what they do. It's not what they've ever done. They're just not willing.
Sorry, go ahead, CC.
It's not something. It's something they're not willing to do, and I'm not going to completely fault them for that. In terms of being a family company, you can make great family entertainment, and when they were at their best, that's what they did. But it's like a square peg in a round hole.
Well, there's one thing though, and I will say this: Hawkeye was a lot more violent than I could have anticipated it would be. There was blood splatter and everything. The only thing they're really kind of generally adverse to at Disney is dismemberment. But we're getting R-rated Deadpool, so I'm curious to see how that rolls. And I've made the argument that you can make a Blade movie PG-13, no problem. The only thing that made that movie R then was the nudity and the F words.
And I don't
because
even remember the
vampires getting
nudity.
killed. The it's just during the dancing sequence
Yeah.
in the beginning. Yeah, because like otherwise the MPAA doesn't really care as long as it's not humans. Like you can kill all kinds of monsters, vampires, zombies, and shit all day long as it's not too gruesome. They'll give you a PG-13, no problem. I'm sure Script knows what I'm talking. Like,
Oh, absolutely. And the other part too, and I'll defer to Claudia on this, which is I don't recall in many Blade comics, especially in the heyday, like the 80s and 90s, where Blades was graphically violent.
No, I mean, in fact, he wasn't even around. I mean, he was in the 70s a little bit, and he, have you probably seen, you had a picture up there earlier that was almost reminiscent of his early 70s look like Tomb of Dracula. Then he was completely non-existent in the 80s, and then when he came up in the 90s, he was still in regular Marvel comics. So no, it wasn't, really super hyper violent. In fact, remember the Spider-Man cartoon of the 90s?
Yeah.
He was on there, and he had a lightsaber because he couldn't have a blade. He couldn't have an actual sword.
Right. So I mean, there's the other part too. There's this misconception that Blade, because he's a vampire slayer, has to be R-rated, but the origins of the character, comic-wise, don't support that. The fact that you can get away with a lot in films these days doesn't support that. Primarily, the R rating was due to language and the fact that Wesley Snipes really likes his MF bombs.
That's
because you could have a drinking game. You could have a drinking game in Blade Trinity and kill your liver with the amount of times the F bomb is dropped in any variation.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, because like you take all that out of there. I mean, really, what do you necessarily need him to have to say fuck for?
Yeah.
No, they could do it right, but they have no intention. I mean, we're so much better off if this thing ever gets made. We had enough characters destroyed. Not that Blade is sacred or anything. Let's face it, he has really not much of a popularity outside of the Wesley Snipes movies.
It's a niche gimmick too for him too, but it works.
Honestly, I'd prefer it stay away from the Marvel universe. It doesn't need to be a part of it.
No, doesn't need it.
I'm just not even convinced that Disney would do PG-13 in certain kinds of themes.
Again, like I said, I would agree with you normally, CC. But did you see Hawkeye or no?
No, I didn't.
Watching the first few minutes of the first episode, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, Hawkeye kills a bunch of people, like right away.
I know they were talking about that because they wanted to bring, Deadpool 1 and 2 over to Disney Plus, and there was some talk about, well, that'll conflict with the Disney Plus brand. Do you put it on Hulu? And so it's like we were talking, I think last week or a couple weeks ago, about how you could make the original Alien movie PG-13. But if Disney could do that, would they put it on Disney Plus? And I guess maybe they're thinking about moving in that direction. Maybe Hawkeye.
Well, now they got Hulu, or they're going to have to anyway. Because they did drop Haunting in Venice on Hulu at the same time they did on Video on Demand, which I think was a horrible idea. But whatever. Like, go ahead and cost yourself some money, I guess. But 8.6 billion is the number I guess they're looking at having to cough up for Hulu. I think they got off light.
That's their first payment.
Oh, that's just their first payment? Okay, I must have misread it then.
It's really complicated, but it looks like that's the first payment, and then there's supposed to be a differential that they have to pay off later. So that's what I got from interpreting the reading of it. I think when Mikey comes back upstairs,
we need Mikey for that.
But it looks like it's going through what I suspected, which is the fact that they put a down payment and they're going to have to pay off the rest in installments because
that's what I was thinking. That's mighty cheap. Like I was like, wait a minute, that don't sound right.
Yeah, it sounds like it's because it's less than a third of what the actual reported earlier valuation was, right? I'm like, that something's off there.
Well, that's why I'm glad Mike's here. We'll ask him about that in just a moment. Let's get through some of these super chats because you guys have been patient. Mr. Buttcrack Media has been a member for 17 months, showing us his Buttcrack. Truth Hope Love says, so if and when the Marvels and Wish bomb, that'll be the end of Disney, like for real. No. And I don't know if Wish will do as bad as the other stuff.
I was shocked because Chris Pine actually knows how to sing, and the stuff they revealed of what he was singing, he was bad. Like they took terrible takes of him.
Well, the
Chris
Marvels
Pine's in this too. Jesus,
he's in Wish.
Chris Pine is the wizard or the Wish guy.
He's in everything.
Yeah, he likes to work. People like him.
Yes.
Yeah, it won't be the end. It won't be the end. Marvels will bomb. I don't know if Wish will bomb or not, probably, but
they're already prepared for Marvels to bomb. That's why they're panicking. That's why they're revamping. That's why they're completely starting from scratch on Daredevil and some other things right now.
Yeah,
All
they
this
know
is
it.
culminating in some kind of revamp going forward. Don't be surprised if they call this phase ended right away too. Like phase 5 is done. We're done. We're just gonna end it here at some point, and then we're gonna start phase 6. Just trust me, that's where the
Shit.
good shit starts, kids. Like,
As
that
I
shit
said,
happened.
my plan, you can, if you're a diehard Marvel fan, you could watch every single movie phase and be fine. But if you don't like them, you can skip from Infinity War to the movie I pitched and not miss a beat.
I just wish they'd just
Yeah.
kind of
Phase 6A,
start over.
Phase 6B, 6C, 6D.
Yeah, no,
Because the
Infinity War-
multiverse.
It's pretty much over. Infinity War ended it. There's nothing after that.
I agree. Like between that and Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm good with that.
Yeah, because
Endgame's all right, but
they okay, so they rushed, they skipped over a lot of stories, and Klobby, please help correct me if I'm missing anything. So they
A
skipped
lot.
over the Kree Skull War.
Yep. Pre-Skrull
skipped-
War.
They
Totally.
skipped over the Korvac saga.
Another one that would have been very
Would've
good.
been
Sure. Yes.
They're doing Secret Wars, but I think it's a little too late right now.
Or their little dumb version of it, just like they're just like Sucker Invasion. It had nothing to do with the real.
Yeah, it was complete.
Yeah.
It was like a divorced story, right?
Yeah, they're using title, but you know what? To be fair, script, I'm actually one of the few that actually liked Avengers: Age of Ultron. But I'm just saying that title was just taken from a story that the movie had nothing to do with. Civil War was skeletal in terms of things that they adapted here and there. Winter Soldier, all of them.
Yep.
When they borrow titles from sagas, and granted, those movies had something to do with the stories they were taken from, except for Age of Ultron, really. But now, every time they take a title, like Infinity War. It was nothing like the Infinity War comic, but I liked the movie a lot.
Yeah, but it's just like they burned through it because it was like what? Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Infinity Watch. And there's another one, Infinity something.
Infinity
else.
Gauntlet was first. It was War, Watch. Like you said, there are a few of them, but they just pick and choose names from things. These
I know
people don't
you are,
what
but
you're
what
doing.
am I? Infinity.
That was
Yeah,
the best
something
one.
like, because here's the thing,
That was
right?
the best one. Yeah.
When you're thinking of some of the significant Marvel story arcs, there's maybe 30 of them, and a good over half, not maybe over half, but just under half maybe are X-Men related, which is something Marvel didn't have up until recently. And then a couple with our Fantastic Four, like Journey into the Negative Zone and the Galactus one, and of course the Baxter Building.
There are tons of them all over.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are right. Like, even if they had just gone through and nitpicked, just cherry picked a few events out of each couple years or decades.
They skipped
They
essentially
still had-
the 80s and went straight to the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. They could have had plenty of stuff to dive into for years to come.
I would say not. I wouldn't say. I would say maybe they would have 5 or 6 years of stories if they picked stuff from the 80s that wasn't X-Men.
Well, no, I meant the
Fantastic
whole
Four.
entire Marvel saga up through until
60 years.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a lot of stories, and there's some very obscure story arcs that not a whole lot of fans know that could probably have done well theatrically. But yeah, they kind of. I think they didn't realize they could keep going as long as they did, and they just kind of rushed to the end. And then when they got $2.8 billion from Infinity War, they're like, well, we can't stop now.
Well, we know why the rush came in. The rush came in from a few different areas, and it all culminated with you've got too many stars making too much money. B, a lot of these characters are going to either go into the public domain or they got to pay out, royalties.
The creative estates, which it's a win-win deal to do that. Like I never understood.
Not to them for some fucking reason. And Disney's even worse than Marvel with that.
And the other part too is that here's the thing that's kind of funny, and this is really just bad negotiating on Disney's part, and they're known for that, which is that the price value for these celebrities in the Marvel films only pertains to them in the Marvel films. And
exactly.
That's the thing, is like you can get Robert Downey Jr. now for pretty cheap. You can get Chris Evans.
I made that argument earlier, exactly, and I mean I know we brought this up before. I love Robert Downey Jr., but guess what, guys? He's not a fucking movie star. He never was. He was never a movie star. He has always been second guy, best friend, a villain at best sometimes.
Yeah.
He was in a couple of what's his name that did Predator or Shane Black. Shane Black movies. But other than that, his biggest film was probably Chaplin.
Yes.
I'd be willing to bet. Before the Marvel Universe, that was probably his biggest movie.
I would say.
Because people forget that at one point this guy, and that's why he was such a big deal to get in that movie, is because he was so unemployable. He went from falling asleep in kids' beds drunk to being on kids' bedspreads in a matter of like a decade. People forget that how that happened. Like he
Yes.
was on the verge of being booted out of Hollywood forever. Nobody wanted anything to do with him.
He was part of the group of character actors. He was in Back to School.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of supporting
And I
roles. He's
love
in Weird
him.
Science. He's very good, and he actually found his niche with the lead of Iron Man. It worked for him.
Because of
the thing
Iron
that
Man, he
Marvel-
got all those other movies after that. That's why.
Yeah. And well, I mean, Shane Black kind of helped restore his career because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang kind of proved to the
That
world
little helped a little bit.
that he could come back, and that's what Jon Favreau used as leverage to say, look, he actually knows he can stay clean and do his job. That was one of the reasons. But the fact of the matter is that because Marvel started grossing so much at the box office, the agent said, well, we want him. We want to do a $25 million deal for Robert Downey Jr. And then later it came to a $50 million deal towards the Infinity War and Endgame. And the fact that Disney said, okay, it was asinine. Because yes, well, that money does not go into Robert Downey Jr.'s pockets. It goes to his production company, which is called Team Downey, and that employs a few dozen people for many years to help him find projects so that he can continue funding the production company. But the fact of the matter is that Disney did not negotiate well. They should have said, listen, what is Robert Downey Jr.'s actual rate when it comes to not a Marvel film? And then you offer them 15 or 20% above that. That's how you do it. That's part and parcel for how it works. Michael Keaton was not offered massive amount of money for Batman Returns, and then when he was offered for the third film, which he was in negotiations for before Tim Burton was excised out, he was not getting 3 or 4 times more than what he made in the first 2 Batman films.
No,
and
he had
the
to work
reason
his
being
way
is like
back
Michael
up,
Keaton
yeah.
is Michael Keaton. Yeah, he's a name right now, but we know that if he's not in a Batman movie, he's not going to be asking for the big bucks. And
oh no,
that art has been lost recently when it comes to understanding like the actor's value. It's like Scarlett Johansson is not a $20 million actress.
Yeah.
She's just not.
No, and that's I think you're 100% right. Outside of Chris Pine and maybe Zoe Saldana, and I can't even
to a degree, maybe, yeah.
Chris Hemsworth to a degree, you're right. Like other than that, you can't really bank on any of these guys to do anything outside of the Marvel universe. So I think you're right on that.
Yeah, which gives you
script,
great
but,
negotiating power because you can still offer them a few $1 million, but you're able
Yeah.
to control your budgets because you're not spending half of an actual top tier tentpole production on your single cast member or your entire cast. That I think was hubris, not just on the agent side for trying to get the best deal for their talent, but also on Disney side for saying, yeah, it's worth it. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you're moving so much money over here that you're actually losing your ability to produce the quality that allows them to have that quote in the first place.
No, and I'm not trying to shit on Robert at all, so don't take it like that.
No, I think we're
nobody
very
is in the
pro
chat that I
RDJ.
can tell either. I'm just saying because I love him as an actor, but we've gotten this mentality and it's because of the Iron Man bit that he's this big movie star. And it's like, no, he never was. Sherlock was a luck. It was pure luck that he got another hit that close and he only got that role because of Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And the only other hit that he's had, they're saying in the chat, was his biggest hit besides the Marvel film was Tropic Thunder. Well, there you go. That's the Rock scenario. He was in his biggest film besides that.
He was supporting
is an ensemble film. He was a supporting character.
Yeah,
but
Ben Stiller was the star. Yeah,
exactly. But again, I'm not shitting on him. I'm not shitting on anybody. But Chris Pratt is the only, I think you could say, is the only one that is able to. Well, you could bank on him possibly at this point. That's about it. It's a little
mixed because aside from voicing Mario, the other movies he's done outside of Marvel have not performed well. Like Tomorrow War was not well received. He did The Terminal List, which was fairly well received, but that's a different quote structure because that's streaming series.
Tomorrow War went straight to Amazon too, didn't it?
It was never going to do theaters as far as I knew.
Yeah, so I wouldn't really count that as a thing necessarily.
But
I agree. He needs a singular thing where it's his vehicle too.
I don't think look. I'm a big fan of his, but I don't put him as a movie star. I mean, I think of him as a high-end or a working actor in the top of.
I would argue he's one big movie away that's not a franchise, is what Script's arguing. Basically,
yeah, I would say there's a chance for that.
Maybe.
But it's really hard because it's got to be the right thing. Because again, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Pratt is a character actor.
Yeah. Well, let's keep going with these super chats because I got to ask Mikey about this other business with Disney. From Pillar to Post says, "Hey guys, do you think the end of the MCU multiverse saga everything gets reset and time gets reset before the blip, aka it was all a bad dream. No,
They're not going to Dallas this.
they're going to probably use Deadpool to do some sort of way of getting the X-Men in this universe, and they might do some sort of reset of sorts with Secret Wars, but if they ever revamp or recast or redo anything, like, they're just going to start over. And I think that's part of the problem, and we've talked about this time and time again, is they've gotten to this point where they have stacked so much crap on top of this thing that the foundation is starting to cave in, right? Like they just can't sustain this anymore. It's too.
They weren't expanding the foundation as they were building up, which is what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You've got like this skinny little foundation trying to hold all this shit up like a mushroom, and it's just not working. It's not at this point. And unfortunately, I don't know if they could do that. I mean, they might, but I doubt it. And Slade says, I know how to fix the marbles. Have Lizzo guest appear as the Blob. Oh no. She can use her immense girth and hammer tech strap on to smash her heroes into submission. And then goes on to say, then the non-binary trans rainbow-haired land whale X-Mams appear in the post-credit scene to launch Phase 6. Fixed it. I agree, Slade. That's the only thing that would fix this right now.
Me and Slade were battling the Marvel shows to see who got banned first in the Marvel stream earlier, and Slade beat me. They never banned me.
I'm the Marvel stream.
They're doing a live stream of their cats, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that stupid thing. I heard about that. It's like, how desperate can you get? So you got in trouble for going in the stream there, Mikey?
I tried. They wouldn't ban me. They wouldn't ban me. I think it's because it says Mexican Iron Man. I think that
damn, we almost could have had part 2.
But Slade got banned.
Were they Victoria Alonso's cats? That's probably all she has.
Dude, I was trying everything, and I was in there like trying to get votes to, like I said, Marvel needs to hire me to do a movie. Like I was in there creating havoc, and I didn't get banned. I think there were too chicken shit to ban a Mexican.
Nobody said get these pussies off screen. No,
I guess not. I had a message come in from the behind the scenes here that I think is the perfect way to fix the Marvel universe. You just have Robert Downey Jr. wake up in bed as his character from Back to School and say he just had the worst dream ever that he was Iron Man and he died.
Yes.
Newhearted, yeah.
Newhearted, someone
just Newhearted.
Yep.
Fuck it.
Newhearted.
Or one of his earlier characters, whichever one you want to prefer in there. Just trying to think. I'm trying to think. Did he ever do a movie where he was married? I don't know if he has.
He did, where he died and came back as someone else.
Except for
they were supposed to get married in that. You're right.
Endgame, but other than that, yeah.
No. Hearts and Souls. He didn't die in that.
No, it was a different one. It was I think
it was a different one then.
Chris McDonald played the character that died, and he came back reincarnated as Robert Downey Jr. He's then dating his.
Oh, I've never seen that.
He's dating his his original body's daughter, and Sybil Shepherd is the wife that was left behind.
What the hell is the name of that?
Oh God,
never heard of that before.
Due
Date, is that what that is?
No, Due Date is with Zach Galifianakis.
Okay. What the hell movie is that? That doesn't sound familiar.
Someone said Chances Are. Is that right?
Chances Are? Okay, maybe.
Yeah, Chances Are. Yeah.
I've never seen that one, so that's got to be it. Okay. Huh. Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, I like Heart and Souls because he was with. I think Elizabeth Shue was in that one, if I'm not mistaken. They weren't married, but they were boyfriend girlfriend in it. That's a cute movie. If you haven't seen that one, I recommend it. I know cute is not exactly the word you want to hear, but it's like it's a good movie. It's a good movie. Gonzalo Bergali has been here for 23 months, almost 2 years. But speaking of 2 years, Tim Hayes has been here for 2 years. Hey. Congratulations. Happy anniversary. And NZ Greg has been here for 9 months. It's a baby. Jason Webster says Disney lurches from the one disaster to another under Igor. Igor. Kareen is in the house. How you been? Says Blade audience is already there. What the fuck? I think she means is Kevin Feige thinking? It's so stupid. Yeah, this would be so easy to make. In fact, we were just talking about this on Mr. H's stream earlier. I'm sure the first movie, the original Blade, was made for $45 million in '98. Second one was 55. Third one was 65 for some dumb reason. Probably mostly Wesley Snipes' salary. But like we were just sitting there making the argument, you could basically Judge Dredd this thing, right? You don't have to spend a bunch of money on a Blade movie. There's no reason for it. In fact, you could, and we even joked about, well, you could just literally judge this thing by having it all take place in one building, right? Like a building that's taken over by vampires.
Right.
And Blade's just going up to the top. Like heading
Game of
away
Death, Die Hard thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just heading his way up to the head vampire at the top, killing his way up. I don't see why that's a problem. Well, you could do it so simple. There's no reason you couldn't make this movie for under $60 million.
Yeah, that's a sweet budget to do any tentpole film. You can do a lot with 60 million if you have the right team and you plan accordingly.
The only reason the original Blade, I think, was so expensive, and the first one was because that had an excessive amount of CGI for a film in 1998. The second one was expensive because it was made by Guillermo del Toro. That's where that reasoning is. The third one, again, I blame probably solely on David S. Goyer and fucking Wesley Snipes' salary, and I'm sure Ryan Reynolds made a couple bucks off that too.
Yeah. So did Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel, that's right. I was trying to think of the other chick, the chick that was in it. I couldn't remember. Is it Jessica Alba or Jessica Biel? It's the one that married.
Biel.
Both are married now with kids.
Ryan Reynolds, right? They got. Or who's he married to?
Ryan Reynolds is
Blake Lively. Huh?
Oh, Blake.
Blake
Okay,
Lively,
I can get all of them girls all mixed up. They all look so much alike.
Jessica Biel is brunette. Blake Lively's
yeah, she's probably the more noticeable.
Blonde and tiny mousy blonde.
I don't know. I get them all.
Jessica Alba is Latino, and nobody complained when she played Sue Storm, the whitest blonde.
Yeah, okay, she was Sue Storm, right? Yeah, okay. That's how I get them unmixed is when I remember who they played.
I didn't complain because she was smoking hot.
That's right.
Well, I complain because you got the hottest chick, and then you make her the Invisible Woman when she's naked.
Yeah, that was a problem.
That was a problem.
That was a problem.
Through you.
If I was director, I wouldn't have let that happen.
They missed a huge opportunity by getting Anson Mount to play Mr. Fantastic. He's got everything, the gravitas, the look for it.
Call me Mr. Fantastic.
Instead, they're like, no, you'll be Black Bolt. Like you'll never speak. Yes. Like, jeez, what a waste.
He would have been a good Mr. Fantastic. You're right.
Oh yeah, because listen, I know a lot of people like Krasinski, but he looks like Dr. Doom without the face mask.
Goofy.
He's got big ears, elongated face. Very, very soft eyes, which I think some women could like, but not good for a hero.
Yeah.
Maybe even better is the Thing almost. Sorry, you were gonna say, Clobby?
Not said Mount would have been better. Agreed.
But yeah, no, I'm not. I never saw the appeal of Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
It's going to be a middle-aged woman anyway. They're all going to be chicks. Fantastic.
Yeah, right. They're all going to be the Femtastic Four, as you tagged them.
Femtastic Four. That's what they're going to be.
Jason Webster says Iger needs to return to work as assistant to Dr. Frederick Frankenstein. Sorry, Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein. Shanatsky says another problem: Marvel killing all their villains. Yeah. Well, not only that, they're just not utilizing their decent. Like this is what I said earlier to on Mr. H's stream. At this point, where the fuck is Magneto and Doctor Doom? Doctor Doom should have been built up for the last 2 phases. He's this like once you've introduced Wakanda, Latveria is the next place you introduce, and you need to be just talking about it. Right, like the conflict in Latveria, the conflict that's coming in, the what's going on over there, and all this shit. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
You keep bringing up villains that are reminiscent of the patriarchy.
True.
Well, the thing is, they didn't have access to Doctor Doom until a few years ago.
Well, it was like more than enough years ago.
I mean, listen, they could have incorporated it just post to Shang-Chi, that's for sure, but they didn't. I don't know why. The other aspect is that. Yeah, aside from Zemo, technically the Red Skull, and the Abomination, they've been killing off their villains, which is stupid.
Yeah. Well, they never brought the Red Skull back outside of him being the Phantom thing.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Which was
also
dumb.
In the Incredible Hulk film with Edward Norton, they set up the leader, the Hulk leader, that guy at the end there, with his head being.
He's supposed to be making another appearance at some point, Quabby, I thought.
Yeah, well, they never use a great villain. Of course, he'd just be misunderstood.
I think he's supposed to be in the Thunderbolts, actually.
If they actually, oh god, this could be bad. Now it's too late. It's gonna be terrible. Same actor, or
yeah, same actor. Because they basically
what a waste.
The only ones they've replaced have been Edward Norton and obviously what's his
Terrence
face
Howard.
who passed away. Well, Terrence Howard, but I mean,
Terrence Howard and then Chadwick Boseman.
well, I meant
Right, yeah.
of
William
the
Hurt.
Incredible Hulk, William
Sorry,
Hurt.
William
That's what I
Hurt.
meant. That's what I was talking about.
A lot of
Right.
okay. There's been a
Liv
handful. of people
Tyler's
that have
supposed to
come
be
and
in
gone.
it. What's his face who played the Liv Tyler's supposed to be coming back again as
Ross,
Betty Ross
Betty
and all
Ross.
that shit. Yeah, so all the same cast except for Edward Norton, basically, and even Tim Roth or whatever is supposed to be in it too.
Okay. Oh, yeah, but they already ruined him and She-Hulk.
Yeah, right. I know. Well, that was because
really?
they fucked up there. That was another thing we had heard is they didn't even know what they were doing with that because they didn't realize they were going to reuse him twice. So him being in She-Hulk went against what he was in Shang-Chi or whatever. So that's why they had to do all that shit. Yeah.
Thunderbolts.
Bad coordination there.
Thunderbolts.
So we're looking at, man, we're looking at what 17 years between the first time we saw Betty Ross and now.
That's what pissed me off is where are my fucking Hulk movies? How hard is it to make a fucking Hulk movie?
They had some problems, legal problems at first, though, didn't they?
Technically, yes. All they had to do is take Hulk out of the fucking title, though.
Yes, there's that. The other part too is that Marvel Studios had an initial contract with Universal that when Disney acquired them, Disney severed, which was stupid because they could have still had Hulk
That's
movies.
basically why Thor is semi Planet Hulk, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, they used Planet Hulk in there a little bit.
This is why they were doing more Thor stuff than they expected. They're on to 5 Thor movies coming up, which is the most of any Marvel cinematic character getting their solo films.
I just want my classic Hulk, man.
It'd be nice, but like, I mean, Hulk is basically a North by Northwest type of movie.
They ruined him on She-Hulk too
all the time. Yeah,
they ruined him on She-Hulk too. He's destroyed now.
Yeah, you can make 3 movies just basically on the premise of mixing the old TV show with what the comics are brilliantly. Like, why is that so hard to do? In fact, why don't we have a Disney fucking series of that? I don't care if it's connected to the MCU.
You just want to see Mark Ruffalo hitchhiking across America?
Fuck Mark Ruffalo. Get somebody else.
I'd recast him.
Yes.
Not that
I want
idiot.
a series that's in the spirit of the original series, but you actually bring in the characters from the comics, right? Like, you actually have Thunderbolt chasing him across the country instead of the fucking reporter, and shit like that. You actually have, Betty being out there pining for him and stuff like that. Like the whole shebang, but you can mix the two, right? Like Klobby just said, this guy who's going out there being a social worker.
Yeah, I mean, that's
what faced by the government. Yeah.
Of course, it works better. That premise with Bill Bixby and stuff works a little bit better in that time period when communications weren't the same back then. You could get picked up by a hitchhiker and end up getting a job anywhere without any kind of ID, like he always did.
David, whatever, something kind of form of banner. You could think of
all these jobs he would get just by telling somebody
just
his fake
without a
name.
problem.
I can update it for modern audiences in a modern world.
Please.
What we do is, first of all, he's got to be the incredible Latin origin Hulk, and he's gonna he's gonna cross the border, and then what he's gonna do is gonna go from homeless encampment to homeless encampment, city to city.
Will it be green or brown?
Cafe banner.
Will it be green or brown?
He'll be brown, but then he'll turn turn
avocado.
More like an avocado. The incredible avocado Hulk.
I like it.
Taco Bells are what set him off, right? Like he's fine until he sees a Taco Bell, and then he's like, "It's not real food."
Vote for the border.
More salsa packets.
Right. Oh shit!
Nice.
No, I honestly I don't know who I would get as. Who would make a great Hulk? Nicholas Hoult probably would have been an all right David Banner, but maybe Nicholas Hoult, somebody who's got his demeanor, somebody like, because that's the problem with Mark Ruffalo's too much of a fucking little soy. Well, I liked Horton. I liked Norton. He was all right, but he was a little too aggressive. You need somebody who's got an undertone of aggressiveness, but they're constantly wearing. And the reason I say is because Renfield.
That's right. I agree with you. You're
Yeah.
100% right. He can play the tormented but endearing, and that's what you kind of need for Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom. You're saying
No. People are asking who. He's the guy who played Beast. Yeah, and he was
He
also
eats a
recently
lot of Taco Bell. He's gonna be. He's gonna
be
definitely
running
gonna
for
be-
the bathroom.
He's gonna be tormented as fuck.
Oh, Hulk belly not sit well. Oh shit. Oh, that was a shark.
Hulk need toilet paper. Ondale. Arriba.
No, I would love to see that. That'd be amazing. But let's
Hulk
keep going
poopy.
here.
Hulk poopy smash.
Yeah,
if he does it in the woods, he'd use a bear to wipe himself
Oh god.
instead of a rabbit.
Instead of a rabbit. Jason Webster says Kathleen Kennedy is to Disney what Mr. Magoo or Clark W. Griswold would be to peak hour traffic in Los Angeles freeway.
Wow.
A lot of sapping here. Tis the season to be merry.
Yeah, Clark. Yeah, that'd be funny. Wonky Man says, Dear Jacoby, or Derek Jacoby was the master name you forgot, Clobby.
He reminded me of that in another stream. Wow, he's bringing from last night.
Oh,
He
really?
reminded me. Oh, maybe he heard me later. I was talking about Doctor Who last night, but yeah,
Mm.
and I did forget his name. I'm bad. I'm horrible.
There you go.
My
Now
memory
you were
sucks.
reminded.
Again.
Well, we don't have
Thank
one
you.
of these for Clobby, but we have one for Tom, I guess.
Thank.
The more Tom knows.
Jeez. Thank you, Wonky.
Had to put culture in there, eh?
We do. I didn't make that. It was Sean Estep, if I remember right. Jason Webster says exactly. Robert Downey Jr. was a terrific character actor with such films, or terrific character actor. I'm so sorry about that. With such films as Chaplin prior to Iron Man. Yeah, he was always like second, the friend, or the companion, or the sidekick, or supporting character. He was in a lot of great stuff. But you know, he was in. Was he in both The Fugitive and U.S. Marshals, or just U.S.
Just
Marshals?
U.S. Marshals.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Yeah, but he was great in that. I
The
remember
bad guy
him
in
really
that.
good in that.
But a bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the best part of Natural Born Killers, as far as I'm concerned. You know, like I say, great turn in like Back to School and stuff like that. Less Than Zero is one of his few starring roles that he had, but again, wasn't a huge box office hit, but got him acclaim. You know, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang did well, but not like great. Yeah, and you can also consider that a buddy picture of sorts too.
Oh yeah, Weird Science.
Yeah, he was in a lot of the earlier
Weird Science.
Weird
Wasn't he?
Science and stuff like
Weird
that.
Science.
He
I
played
think
a lot
he
of
did a couple
teenagers.
Did he do a movie where he was turned into a dog?
Yes. For some reason, that sounds
Really?
familiar.
Yeah,
What was that?
maybe
Hmm.
Shaggy Dog or something like that.
Was it one of the like latter Shaggy Dog TV
I think
films?
it was. Yeah, I remember.
There is
seeing
a
the TV
lost era of Disney movies that people don't remember.
Yeah,
Bruce
Like the
Campbell was
early
in a
aughts.
Herbie movie,
It
folks.
was in a Herbie movie. That's correct. Yeah. A
People
Herbie
forget
remake.
this. They're like, "What are you fucking talking about?" I'm like, "Yes, I
That's
cannot
right.
find this fucking movie."
What the
They
hell
did-
is a Herbie movie?
You know,
You know-
the Love Bug.
You know the Herbie Love Bug, the old Volkswagen car.
Herbie the Love Bug.
You know that. You're old enough.
You don't remember Herbie? Oh my god.
Volkswagen, white
Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
number 53 is the
Yeah, okay.
Volkswagen Bug
Yeah,
car.
yeah, yeah. Well, Bruce Campbell was in. I think it was a remake of the original Love Bug, and
Yes.
they showed it on ABC.
Was that the one with
And I
Lindsay
liked
Lohan?
it.
Yeah.
No, that was way before Lindsay Lohan one. Yeah,
Herbie Unloaded with Lindsay Lohan said, got it.
that was fully loaded. Yeah, that was in the early 2000s.
Okay.
and that
But
was
he-
theatrical.
You're right.
But they
He
had
was in
that
a
TV
Herbie.
movie.
Yeah.
I think that what you're talking about here, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Robert Downey Jr. did one of those movies in that time period. It would have been like mid 90s ish.
I think it was later than that. I think it was
Shaggy
I think it
Dog.
came
Oh,
out post
2006.
his- Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
so
so
yeah,
it was
it was
post.
post
Okay.
post his rehabilitation.
Oh, that was actually a theatrical one. Yes. Okay. So they had another one besides the Tim Allen one. Jesus.
Actually, you know what? Tim Allen is actually really good with Disney right now because he's getting a second season to his Santa Claus Family show. The first season wasn't too bad.
That's right.
That's,
yeah.
that's coming out. Here's another fun fact I learned recently, and I forgot to bring this up to you, but I remembered it now because you mentioned Herbie the Love Bug, but Lindsay Lohan was actually in contention to be Black Widow in the early days.
Really?
Before she had her breakdowns and all that stuff.
She must not have slept with Whedon fast enough.
Well, no, Favreau is the one that cast her.
I know. I'm just kidding.
But
no, yeah. Well, maybe Favreau wasn't interested in it.
No, but it was right around the time they just wrapped Iron Man, first Iron Man, and they were looking at bringing her in for Iron Man 2, bringing in the character for Iron Man 2. They Lindsay Lohan had just started going through her trouble, so she was brought up as a contender, but it was like, no, she's in the early stages of RDJ, so we're not going to deal with that.
Right. I do kind of vaguely remember something along those lines. I know there's parts she didn't get because of that, but I don't remember specifically.
There's a lot of parts. Like, again, Disney ruins their child actors.
Oh, yeah,
and
they
have to go through a lot. Like,
except for Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell and what's her face is that's in the that show that you and Paul like script, the Murders in the Building. What's her face?
Oh, Selena Gomez. Yeah,
she's like the only other one that seems to have her shit together, I guess.
Well, Disney post 90s Disney ruined child actors. Pre-90s Disney was fine because Kurt Russell was okay. He has some good support system behind him.
Yeah.
But no, you have like Christina Aguilera who was there. Justin Timberlake managed to get out by the skin of his teeth. Britney Spears, of course, was one of them.
Oh, we know how much of a prick Justin Timberlake is now, though.
Yeah. But Lindsay Lohan was a darling star. Like she was really good. And then
she was in a lot of Disney films.
Hilary Duff went through a huge set of problems, and then she had to go away for a while to kind of get herself reorganized.
Yeah, there was a period there where like every other movie was a Lindsay Lohan Disney movie. But anyway, Eric K has been a member for 27 months. I want to get to this story for Mikey before he falls asleep. Lester San Jose Skeptic Tank says, howdy panel, Marvel using non-humanoids is a way to circumvent the strike to try and advertise the film. Some things just have to end when it comes to these reboots. Thoughts? Thanks. Well, as far as using non-humanoids to circumvent the strike, they've already kind of probably been using AI, so I don't know. They just need actors now, and I don't think that would roll over well with the Actors Guild. But when it comes to these reboots, no, I don't think we're out of the woods for a while. I think we might be out of the woke woods come next year, like Script was predicting. Come 2024-25, we'll really feel like we've kind of seen the light at the end of the tunnel. But
most
as far
of Hollywood's
as
already going that direction. It's Disney. That's
right.
Disney's part of that last you keep talking about. Like they're not going out silently.
And I predicted they or Amazon would be the ones to really hang on near the end, and they seem to be living out that dream. But no, like as far as reboots and remakes go, that shit's never going to go away because Hollywood has forgotten how to do anything original. Until they rebuild the idea of the movie star, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier, they're going to be shit out of luck. They don't know how to do this shit no more. They've done forgot. And it's just it's a certain people like us, people involved. I'm sure there's plenty of people in the industry who understand this, like Script Doctor. But until we get to those people who go, look, we need to start rebuilding some of these actors and putting them in movies. You know, we need like the Lethal Weapons and stuff like that again, the original ideas. And I'm not talking about all the sequels. I'm talking about, and then you get somebody like a Chris Pratt and you put them in that vehicle and then you build upon that. And the last time they really done that was with The Rock. It just isn't working. And they've tried other people, but The Rock was the last guy I really remember them getting behind a star and trying to really push.
Oh yeah, during the Mummy
original
series,
products.
it was huge. Yeah. I remember that started when the Mummy 2 came out. There was like, yep, we're pushing The Rock. He's going to be the new Schwarzenegger.
Yep.
And instead, The Rock took movies that were big budgeted but didn't have the heart and soul that some of the Schwarzenegger picks had back in the latter half.
And that's
of the
what we
80s.
need is a
Schwarzenegger
Schwarzenegger and a Sly, those kind of guys, you know, the John Waynes, the Julia Roberts, those kind of actors again need to be built back up and put into projects that I hate even fucking saying this. We live in a world where Adam Sandler can't even get a movie in theaters now, and he actually does original material.
Well, his stand-up,
I hate him. But
he's been touring and stand-up over on the West Coast, and some of my friends that have seen him said he just killed it. He's got Netflix deals right now, so Netflix is the only one paying him.
That's what I mean.
And
Clobby had to take off, so check out Clobby's channel, by the way, guys.
And then the other aspect is that we have a cultural gap in regards to the generation of talent out there on the acting side of things, where there's no one in there that really does explode the market that makes people go, wow. One part being is that people would rather be influencers on social media than actually work at a job or try pursue a legitimate talent. And then the other part is you have casting directors that have the horrible taste in men and women and are putting in people that suck in films because they either look good to them or they fit a very skewed data concept of what people want to see on screen.
Yeah. And Jason Fox has been here for a year. Happy anniversary. And yeah, he's making Netflix money, but the reason he went to Netflix is because they wouldn't put Sony wasn't going to foot the bill anymore because his movies quit making money.
Yeah.
I mean, his movies turned to shit, but I just brought him up as an example of somebody who's actually still doing original material as bad as it may be. And it's built on him being the star, is my point. But yeah. Yeah, even if it's that Western thing he did a couple years back or his Hubie Halloween thing or whatever.
He has his murder mystery series with him and Jennifer Aniston.
Well, see, now that's become a franchise, but my point is before that, he at least had almost every one of his movies was an original. He's never had a sequel up until that point, really, other than that, the Hotel Transylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he kind of had a really good run of never doing a sequel, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because that's something Jim Carrey tried to strive to do, because I've been looking for that interview to this day. I swear it was Entertainment Weekly he did it in. It was right around the time of the opening of Ace Ventura. He said, if I ever do Ace Ventura 3, please fucking shoot me or something to that effect, or kill me or something like that. And now he's doing Ace Ventura 3, and I want to find that article or that interview because, yeah.
Well, he's been going through a really weird time the last
I know, but I just think it's ironic that people say that shit and then 20 years later they do the opposite. But not that I've ever changed my mind.
It's the actor's ego. Like, this is the one thing I've been appreciating with some actors that have been calling it out, especially like David Spade did an interview recently where he's like, dude, whenever someone says, hey, you were great in Tommy Boy, I just relish that because I'm at least remembered for something. And actors,
right?
Idiot actors forget that's the important part of it. It's like, be remembered for something. And if it's people that want to see you that again, the only thing you have to do is make it good for them. And
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But I just give him props for being able to, like, Clint Eastwood is another one who's hardly done any sequels. And the only reason some of those are considered sequels is because of the no name factor. They're really technically. Yeah. I mean, other than Dirty Harry movies and the two Any Which Way movies, he doesn't really have any sequels. So, yeah. And we had Eric K, who's been here for 27 months. Thank you for the support, Eric. And then Lester San Jose. We got this one already. Thank you for that. We got this one too. Okay, we're good. And then Dearest says, would Larson be better as Mockingbird? I don't think Larson should be acting. Like, she can go get another job.
Sydney Sweeney would be really good as Mockingbird.
Yeah.
She's got the curves for it, but she is, I think, getting out of acting and going into directing. And she's still relatively young, so it's an interesting choice for her.
So, Mikey, before we take off here, I wanted to get your take on this whole Disney Hulu thing. And surprisingly, ABC News has one of the better titles to this. Disney to acquire the remainder of Hulu from Comcast for roughly $8.6 million. The rest are just saying that. But as Script pointed out, and I didn't even know this isn't the whole price now, is it, Mikey?
No.
What do you know about this?
I know that when this news broke, I was infuriated and pissed off and annoyed because it seemed to it's simultaneously on Disney's, as Disney released it as a press announcement, and of course Deadline picked it up, and then everybody else and their mother did, and they're all morons when it comes to writing, and no one knows the history of this. But what this is what it is. The reason why I'm pissed off, I'll get to that in a second. But when people have been asking me what to look forward to for the earnings call, and I've been saying over and over again 3 things. This is one of them: an announcement about Comcast, Hulu, Pelts, and dividend. And I think what's happened here is they're announcing like, hey, guess what? We're going to pay $8.6 billion. Well, this is stupid because number one, the 30-day period just expired a few days ago where this thing can go on the open market. So this deal is what's called a put call deal. So some people might know this as kind of like a first right of refusal. That's another term that's out there in business. And so either Comcast can put this out in the open market or Disney has to pick it up, which means they're going to pick it up because they have to pick it up. And so they're sitting here saying, oh, well, we're going to do this deal. And that valuation right there is the lowest valuation of that thing from way back when they started this thing, maybe adjusted for less than inflation, but probably really adjusted for what are considerable transaction fees, lawyer fees, professional fees, accounting, et cetera, et cetera. So, and really, all they're doing is issuing a press release saying, guess what? We're actually going to buy it, when we've known all along that they have to buy it because they own 2/3 of it. And the other thing is that the reason this announcement came out is because a week from today, literally a week from today, Bob's going to have an earnings call, and they would have asked him, Bob, what's up with the Hulu deal? And are you, and so that so by doing this, he doesn't have to say what the final price is, because inside of it, it says valuation analysts are still working on the valuation. There's 2 firms right now that are doing the assessment of this thing. 2. And if they don't agree, or it comes off a little higher, there's a split, then they're going to bring in a 3rd one. So it could be another year before we find out what the price of this thing is. And it sure as hell ain't going to be less than this number they announced in the media. So the first thing that Bob's doing is he's kicking this thing down the road. Of course he is. Why? Because he doesn't want to be asked what the price is, and more importantly, how they're going to finance it, which I've been on this for about 4 or 5 months wondering how in the hell they're going to pay for this thing. So Bob does, this tells me this. Bob, they're nowhere near agreement on what the value of this thing is. They're gonna, and then once they come up with it, then they're gonna enter it. Then Bob's gonna try to figure out how in the hell he's gonna pay for whatever that number ends up being. And he wants to defer and kick this thing down the road so that no one asks any questions. And that's why this press announcement came back up. And the result is, I had the stock up behind me before the show started. It went up a couple bucks since this announcement yesterday. And obviously there are some morons in Wall Street and some investors that can't see through this, but Mexican Iron Man sees right through this crap, Bob. Dang it, Bob. Stop being a lying, cheating weatherman. If there's a hurricane coming, Bob, tell me about the hurricane. Don't say the weather might be good down the road. I'm pissed as an investor.
So this is essentially a down payment.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think so this isn't even that.
No, it's not even
No,
that.
it's less than that? Oh, please elaborate.
Okay, me, Tom, and Script own Midnight's Edge After Dark, in theory. Script and Tom own 2/3, and I have 1/3. And we agreed that when I get bought out, that we agreed that the last third of this joint venture is worth $8.6 billion. Right?
Right.
Sure.
So what's happening is that we haven't decided on this venture how much it's going to be and what the terms of this thing are going to be, and how I'm going to pay for it. There's no $8.6 billion being moved. They just said in the press release, if you read it closely, that the valuation price will be adjusted later. And guess what it's going to be adjusted for? All the value of this venture since the day it was created. This thing is the original. This announcement of the 8 is just the original value, adjusted for some inflation, adjusted probably for some professional fees, divided by 3. It won't be less than this. It'll probably be more. And the final price we won't know until way down the road. All they've done is saying, hey, all that happened is no down payment. That's not what happened. What happened is they just said, hey, we don't want this piece out in the open market, so we definitely are gonna buy it, and we're gonna figure out what the terms are and when the cash moves later when the valuation gets agreed upon, which could be another fucking year.
Okay, so I misinterpreted the article because I thought it was like, oh, we're gonna put down X amount of dollars to basically commit to the sale and then pay off the rest once the valuation comes through. But you're saying no.
They are committing, Script, in the same way that Amber Heard. It's a little bit stronger than Amber Heard pledging, but they've said, yes, we will spend at least $8.6 billion on this thing.
So it'll be allotted, but it's not actually going to be handed over until the valuation is completed.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So, all right. I was wrong on the other stuff, but now I understand. So that's interesting. They basically, it's like an offer, and it's like, yeah, this is our basic offer.
The offer is accepted. The transaction is not cleared escrow, let alone the final price of the escrow.
Oh gosh, that's dirty.
It is, and it's very similar to what Bob did to me when Nelson Peltz rolled up. And what did he do when Nelson made his first move at the beginning of the year? Here's Bob. Well, we're looking to issue a dividend by the end of the year. Disney's fiscal year ends September 30th. What's the end of the year? The end of September 30th that year? December 31st that year? The calendar year? This guy's a effing fucking shyster. Yep. He's a fucking shyster. So there's two other things I want to hear about on the earnings call. I want to hear about Nelson Peltz. I want to hear about if I want to hear what's happening with that, and I want to hear about my dividend because I haven't seen a dividend since December of 2019.
Oh, you're not going to get that because the rumors that I'm hearing is that Disney wants to end this strike before the earnings call so that they can open with "We are back to work." And I don't think that I don't think that's going to be the case because again,
Script, you better stop being honest with me. I don't like it when you tell truths.
sorry, I don't want to give you false hope because Disney spent $900 million investing on AI specifically for creative purposes, whereas Warner Brothers spent a fraction of that just for basically data analysts to figure out what the market is. And Disney doesn't want to admit that they just wasted a whole bunch of money if they have to acquiesce to a SAG deal that prohibits them from using AI-generated actors or scanning them and replicating them as AI-generated actors. The other part, too, which I also found fascinating, is that the so-called levy that Netflix accused of, the 57 cents per subscriber, it looks like that has either been replaced and they went back to the original residual model, or a new revised one has come up, which is far more in line with the original ones because it's not being mentioned anymore. And it's not being mentioned more in the sense that the MPTP has not released anything saying that they threw it out and they're not going to get it. They've actually been very silent on it, which means that they capitulated to some sort of deal for the SAG after team. And if they're capitulating that late and they're still going into negotiations, which will be continuing tomorrow and most likely back again on Monday, that just means that Disney is going to be very desperate because if the strike is still on while Bob is doing an earnings call, he's going to have people asking him, why the hell is there still a strike going on? Why can't you guys come to an agreement? And are you really going to try and put that on unreasonable actors when saying unreasonable writers didn't work out well for you anyways? Like, he doesn't want to be answering those questions, and they're probably ready and charged to go for some of the
Well, he
people
doesn't
that are
want to answer.
wondering
The thing about
why
Bob
aren't
is
you putting out anything.
you're 100% right. He doesn't want to answer those questions. He doesn't want to answer questions on Comcast. He doesn't want to answer questions on anything. He just wants to fluff and bluff his way through as he tries to avoid the real problem, which is that he has to return Disney in lock, stock, and barrel in parks and experiences, in movies and cinema and TV back to the family-oriented company it once was, and get off of this liberal, leftist, progressive horse shit that gets us nowhere.
Yeah, he might lose some board seats by the end of this year.
I want him to lose 3. This motherfucker, Bob Iger.
Yeah.
Oh, was that what you were looking for, Tom?
Nah, I'm glad you explained this to me because the way Script explained it, it's obviously even different than that because I thought that I'm like, that's cheap. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And now that
was
makes
cheap
more
too.
sense. Yeah.
Yep.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It is, and it would be. But the thing is, like, look, God bless Script and anybody else. And I listen, Script. Script. I know Script personally. We all know Script personally. He's an honest, good guy. He's a good man.
I don't know him personally.
Yes, he is. Yes,
I don't know him that personally. He could be a black man for all I know.
Shut up.
Anyway, the point of the matter,
You're getting really close there, Tom.
The fact that the thing is that Bob is playing on people's benevolent perception of Disney, so that when words come out of Bob's mouth, you have to X-ray matrix scan the code in order to understand the real nefarious language that's being used to hide the truth and to get to that truth. And he's always been like this. And I've said weeks ago, there are 3 things I wanted to hear, and he's already taken one off the board because he's a weasel. They don't have the money. If he wanted it so bad and Disney was ready to go and had the financing, they'd say, hey, Comcast, we'll give you 12 billion, 14 billion, let's go. They're not rushing to get this deal done. They need this deal, but they're not rushing to get it done. And the reason I know they need it is because I, unlike everybody else that I know on the YouTube space, I still have terrestrial TV and I watch a ton of sports on a ton of channels all the time in addition to YouTube stuff. And that ad campaign that they ran of the Disney bundle tells me that Hulu being part of their overall umbrella is an integral part of their tactical and strategic future. So they need this. They want it, but not so bad that they're going to make a move on it. And so they're skirting to the left and ducking to the right. And it's like watching Floyd Mayweather box in a ring.
Yeah, but they're not going to have his record. That's the problem.
Nope. Agreed, sir. Agreed. Anyway, I'm sorry I'm so hot on this issue. It makes me mad.
Dude, you should be mad.
No.
Going on 4 years without a dividend on a stock investment, that's
I
criminal.
don't think it's even that. I think a lot of it is just, I've got so much time invested in this stuff. And, and then part of it, I'm mad at myself because a good chunk of my shares I bought at 170, between 172 and 184, something in that range. A good chunk.
Wow. Yeah.
When I was sitting on stuff that was back
Dang.
from the early 2000s that had wide margins. And so I'm just annoyed because I see so clearly how easy it is. We all do. All of you in chat on this panel, all of you listen to this on the replay. We all know if all of us went to a town hall meeting, we literally in 3 hours could give Bob 100 ideas of what to fix all over this company, from theme parks to movies to TVs. Literally, all of us in this chat, all of us watching this video on the replay, in 3 hours, we could give them a laundry list, fill up some whiteboard sheets on the wall, and off to the races. And this company would be fixed in a fiscal year or two.
You'll definitely be
tell
turned
'em.
around. Yeah.
You tell them, Mikey. And with that, I think we have hit the end of the program. Unless CC, you had anything to say on all that, because that was a lot and you were quiet there for a while, brother. Actually, I have a question to ask, and this might be an answer one you can answer. CC, go ahead and give your final thoughts on all that business first, though.
Well, I mean, I'm a little out of my depth on financial issues, so I was just enjoying the conversation and learning. I can't speak specifically. But I agree with Mikey. We could sit at a town hall and between the chat and ourselves, and we would put forth some really obvious, simple ideas. Because now I don't think you can replace, like I said earlier, I don't think you can replace the talent in a year. I think it was 3PO the other night who was saying that there's a lot of people who just won't. In the script, you said the same thing. Disney's at a place now where people won't even work for the company anymore, given the opportunity. It's become it's like, don't go work for somebody else. That's going to make it even harder. You can give them the good ideas, but then you got to execute it. And I think that infrastructure is going to take a lot longer to fix.
Yeah, no, totally. I was curious if any of you guys happened to hear the new Beatles song today. Or was it
No,
just me.
Not a
didn't hear it,
Beatles
CC?
fan at all.
I mean, I love the Beatles. I've just been a little bit soured by their ownership for a while because, they're one of those bands, like the Eagles and all that. And
Fair enough. Nobody else. Okay.
No, I'm
Did
not a Beatles fan.
anybody watch the Planet of the Apes trailer?
Yeah, I liked it.
Looked all right.
I feel like I've seen this
heard your
already.
comment. Zack Snyder greater than Planet of Apes trailer. We can agree on that. I hope.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh shit.
I saw the trailer for The Fall Guy, which kind of went on too long.
I heard they were doing. Is that a remake of the old Fall Guy?
Yeah, it's the same concept. I don't know if they use the same character names or not, but it's
Right.
It's that concept. Yeah, Ryan Gosling's in it and Emily Blunt.
Interesting.
First part of the trailer is pretty good, and then they kind of ruined the movie with the tail end, which kind of par for the course recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yes, Now and Then is the new Beatles song. The last Beatles song actually is being billed. Steven says, I'm not leaving YouTube until I positively identified Script Doctor. I will, of course, tell Mo one. Notice he didn't say no one.
Doogie
He said
Howser.
Mo one.
Go back and watch the old show, Doogie Howser.
Apparently, I look like Neil Patrick Harris.
Go to Doogie Howser, watch the TV show. There's an episode where he goes in the closet, and then what happened is there was a portal there, and then he just came out. Next thing you know, he's on Midnight Sedge After Dark. So there, you already know who he is. Done.
That's not how the Force works.
How else do you think Script has a commanding knowledge about everything that's happened on TV, radio, movie, and cinema since the 80s? How else?
I don't know about commanding, but I know some things. I do like watching other like classic 80s sitcoms and stuff. In fact, I'm still relatively enjoying the Frasier revival series. It's very Frasier-y. The weakest part, of course, is Freddie and in his little world. But it's if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking out. It's not bad Frasier comedy if that's your thing.
Now you make me want to see Freddy Krueger and Frasier.
That would be cool too.
Yeah, like
because you have the whole dream psychology stuff, and I think that would,
that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah.
Weird.
All right, Script, what you got going on? You got a Patreon, I know that.
I got Patreon. I'm trying to get some reviews out. It's taking a little longer. There's been some busy things popping up here and there, which is nice. But yeah, I've got that going on. So if you want to check that out, there's almost 100 posts on that on my Patreon there. So you have a lot of stuff to look at if you're curious. And it's got a 7-day free trial, so you can go back and read all my musings and reviews and whatnot there. So check that out if that's your bag.
Money back guaranteed, satisfaction guaranteed.
Patreon won't let me do that part.
7 days free trial. If you don't like it, you get your money back.
Trial, yeah, that's the best I was able to get out of
them. CC, what you got going on? You're doing this video show now, I see.
Yeah, speaking of the 1980s, I'm getting back into music television. So I'm going to run that. The Thursday one's bi-weekly, and this is the bi-weekly tonight.
It's
so
CCTV.
In about 2 hours. I'm running that with my friend Punk and a couple of streamers from Twitch, Gloop Dog and Brine Cats. We got a dog and a cat on the stream. And we'll see how that goes, because they have different viewpoints on what kind of music they like.
We'll have to come on here sooner or later, maybe. And
You've got the invite, permanent one, yeah, if you want it.
We'll Beavis and Butthead it up a little bit.
And then, as always, Friday Night Karaoke continues.
Oh, of course, yes. Mikey.
What?
I love you.
Love you more.
You do. I'll let you have that one today. But anything you got going on, you want to plug it all?
Nope.
All right, fine. I'll take the opportunity. Friday, we're going to be starting, or Saturday, we're going to start Move 4K for You to Saturday.
Oh.
For at least for now. And we should have Bill Hunt as our first guest on Saturday afternoon. So please join us then to ask him all your nerdy questions about HD, DVD, Blu-rays, and all that business.
Wow.
Did I just say HD, DVD? 4K UHD. HD, DVD is so dead.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Dead. All right. So hopefully we'll see you guys on the morning show. Otherwise, take care of yourselves and each other. And always remember to
fade in.
That's right.
Baby dip, you make a